Hi, I'm Ravinder, and you are watching BookGeeks India. Today I'm talking to Sankalpita about books, reading, writing, and my new book, You Are All I Need.
Hey guys, I am Sankalpita and you're watching bookGeeks India, which is a channel where I make book related videos. In this video, we are going to talk to one of India's best-selling author, Ravinder Singh. Ravinder Singh is a software engineer by education and an author, a speaker and an entrepreneur by profession. Now I'm pretty sure most of you know this, but Ravinder Singh is a person whom I deeply admire, and that's because he's one of those few people on earth who has managed to come out of a tragedy of losing a loved one and turn it into something positive, something constructive, and something that will definitely live beyond you and me. And for that, I have always admired him. So today, here on this channel, I have Ravinder Singh in conversation with Book Geeks, with me, talking with me about his latest book. This one, You Are All I Need, a book which is basically a collection of romance stories and anthology edited by him in collaboration with Romedy Now. So a very warm welcome to you, Ravinder. Thank you for agreeing to do this. Thank you for this collaboration. I hope you are staying fit and staying healthy and also staying safe in these tough times. And now, because I have so many questions to ask you, let's just get on with the video. The number one question that I have for you is, how are you finding the COVID lockdown situation different? How has your routine changed? And what does a normal day look like for you in times of COVID 19?
This lockdown has been an unprecedented situation, something none of us had anticipated. One good thing about my career is that I've been working out of my home for past 6 years. I'm a full-time author. So I can safely say that I was little better prepared in comparison to others to deal with the situation. Of course, my life also has changed. The whole idea of not being able to step outside your house when we were under the stringent lockdown versus now I do step out. I think the two most important criterias which made me feel miserable was that the maid was not coming. So I used to do all the jhadu posha bartan. Of course, my mom is there to help me. And the sad fact that I could not go to the gym and work out. I think those are the two most life-changing moments for me. Of course, the bookstores were shut, books were not moving, Amazon and Flipkart were not shipping the books. I dealt with the situation in a whole new way. There was a lot of ideas coming to my mind, and of course, pandemic. This is a situation which brought me, and I'm sure a lot of creative people, so many ideas, so many stories to talk about. I penned down so many short stories. I created a meme page. I started a YouTube channel. Somehow I felt pregnant with creativity. And of course, I was dealing with so many stories that came my way via the Get Published campaign that Penguin, Romedy Now, and I were a part of. And as a result of that campaign, we brought out this brilliant collection of love stories in the book called You Are All I Need.
Now, this book is a little different from your regular books in the sense that this is an anthology. So, the next question that I want to ask you is this. So, what is the book all about? How does one compile an anthology? What is the kind of process that goes into making it, and how long does it take for you to work on an anthology?
Thank you. And these are a lot of questions. Let me summarize them all in one big answer. Yes, this is different from my novels that I write. And this is the third time I'm working on an anthology, which is a collection of crowdsourced love stories that I sat on, judged, edited, compiled, and finally I bring out to my readers. These are the stories that have touched my heart and that assures my readers that they can trust these stories. I have evaluated them, I have worked on them, I have looked at them through the same lens with which I look at my own work when I'm writing. And of course, they will find some flavor of my love stories in it. I think that as an author who is widely read, and I'm so blessed to realize this, I also think I do have a responsibility of bringing new authors in this domain of reading. This is something very close to my heart. I always go back in time when I was a debut author, and I felt if somebody would have held my hands, I would have felt elated, or somebody would have done something to make my journey a little less troublesome. That's what I'm doing today. As part of this anthology, We roll out a campaign which is open to people, in which they can submit their stories. We get entries in thousands, and you can imagine the level of the stories and why I'm asking you to trust these stories. And I know they will melt your heart. Is out of these thousands of stories, I'm bringing you 25 stories. So imagine the level, the multiple rounds in which we have actually cut on to so many good stories to pick the best amongst this group. Every author has got his or her strengths and weaknesses. The whole idea is to bring a synergy, to work on the weaknesses, take the story up, and to amplify their strengths. That's the whole idea with which I happen to work on.
This is something I am pretty sure a lot of people must have asked you, but nevertheless, I'm going to go ahead and commit this mistake. So I want you to tell us something about the start of your career. How did it came to your mind to turn your loss into something so substantial, something so everlasting? Did you get an inspiration? Was there somebody who inspired you, or where did it come from? Where did that urge to write come from? Can you take us through that?
Well, I have always said this, that I became an author by chance. I had no idea to write books or become an author. But now I'm one by choice. Bad things happened in life. In 2007, I had lost my then girlfriend in a car accident, uh, my first girlfriend. So I didn't know how to deal with life, and I felt the only way for me to move on is to relive that story, vent out that steam out of my system, feel lighter, and then move on. So catharsis is what worked for me. I felt my story was the greatest love story. At least for me, we all feel the same about our stories because we have felt those emotions. We have loved someone, we have kissed someone, we have cried for someone, and in my case, I knew that the person who I loved so dearly is not going to come back to me. So the emotions were at a different level altogether. So yeah, I wrote it as catharsis, and I'm so glad I did that. I want to bring her back in this world in my own way, and when I look back, I kind of believe that she is there forever in the pages of I Too Had a Love Story. One day I will die and leave this world, but my love story is going to stay back. And the journey was difficult. Me wanting to become an author at that point of time and had zero clue with the publishing industry. I was not even a reader. I started writing first and then I started reading. So you can understand the world where I was coming from. But yeah, end of the day, the willpower that I want to do this made me do it. And I'm so glad I did that.
You have 1.1 million followers on Twitter. You have 1.2 million followers on Facebook. And when it comes to Instagram, you have 128k as your followers. So when it comes to YouTube, why have you stayed away all these years? I see that you have two channels, Ravinder Singh and also So Chale. But I want to ask you this thing. Why have you stayed away from YouTube all these years?
Thank you so much. Yeah, there are so many social media forums. It's very difficult to be everywhere and give every forum that much of time. End of the day, as they all say, you have to pick your battles. I was first on Facebook, and much before Facebook, I was on Orkut. That's where the entire thing started for me and for a lot of us. Then Facebook happened, of course. Then Twitter happened. Over a period of time, transition happened from Facebook to Instagram. I'm there. The Sociale channel on YouTube I just started 3 4 months back in the lockdown. As I said, I was really pregnant with creativity, and this time the creativity was towards the humor part of it, with which I started Sociale. The other YouTube page was more of a relationship advice that I used to give. I still find it extremely difficult. I think Instagram remains my primary platform wherein I go out and create content. On Instagram, I have started two pages. This is Ravinder is the handle which has got the blue tick, so the verified page. It has been converted into a meme page, a humor page, and I kickstarted a new page on Instagram with Love Ravinder, which is all about my writing. I write about heartbreaks, emotions, love. I love it more. It's smaller page right now as on date when I'm recording this. It has got somewhere close to 10,000 followers. But I love spending time on with Love Ravinder. So you should check it out in case you haven't.
Next question that I have for you has a little personal twist. So I want to tell you a story. So this story is from my own college days. Your book, I Too Had a Love Story, was all the rage during my college days. Like people used to go gaga over this new author, Ravinder Singh. And for girls like me, your good looks was also something that we fell for, definitely fell for. So I remember borrowing your book, I Too Had a Love Story, and I had taken it from a friend, but then the vacations came and then I had to leave for my hometown, which is why I had to return the book back to my friend. But then while I was traveling in the train, a guy came who was selling these pirated copies. I definitely know they were pirated because you just realized that, right? And I am actually guilty of buying that copy and reading it. I'm pretty sure that your books are being sold as pirated copies on bus stations, on railway stations, on streets, crowded streets. So I want to ask you this: does it bother you? How do you feel about it? And do you think there is any way we can at least reduce the amount of piracy that is happening in Indian literature, if not completely curb it?
First of all, thank you so much for loving my work and uh, for, for for the compliment on my looks thing. Thank you. Um, I hope that you do read my work because of the quality of my work and not the way I look. And I don't take myself very seriously when it comes to looks, but writing I take very seriously. Piracy is a very touchy topic. Let me give you a twist here. Every time I have spoken about piracy or clicked a picture of somebody selling a pirated copy, on social media, people have shouted back at me, asking me, "How dare you? Can't you see that person? That particular person is so poor. He's trying to make ends meet by doing hard work and not begging. How can somebody like you, who's a best-selling author, look down upon these people?" The point that these people do not understand is that this is a racket. It's not one person selling this. Somebody is printing the pirated book, supplying it to their distributor, who's supplying it to this particular person. All of these people, end of the day, land up killing the content here. If I write something and somebody else generates value from it without giving me anything, how will I survive? And if those 10 people doing it just because they are poor is right, why shouldn't 100 do it? And maybe 10 people should be in the business of doing it legally. How would you do this? I think that is something we fail to understand. I would rather want you to, and when I say you, I mean people in general, to lend a book and not even pay for it. And you talked about my book being a rage in your college and hostel, it would move from one. And I get this very often that a lot of time in girls' hostel, my book used to move from one room to other room. I'm perfectly fine. See, even when 10 people are reading from one book, I am losing on to royalties, right? I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is you paying somebody else, a third person who has nothing to do with this world, that money and reading the book. So how will I make a living out of it? How will I sustain myself? I'm a full-time author. How will I do that? And if that person who's selling pirated books, and if you are okay with it, imagine what is he going to do next. Are you okay if tomorrow he is going to sell pirated food, something that you consume, pirated medicines? Because piracy has no limit, no boundaries. You are endorsing him to do whatever he or she wants. So think about it. Instead of selling pirated books, if the same person sells the right book, I'll be more than happy to even sign my books for him so that more people will buy from him because he is selling a signed edition out there. That's the kind of a respect I will have when you are doing something legitimate out there. And we really need to make people understand from here, not here. Because when we think from the heart, we think that it's all good out there. And piracy has no limit. People are these days um, are stealing content and posting it on their page as if it's their content. So we really need to call a spade a spade. Thank you.
Ravinder, you're also an entrepreneur. You started your own publishing house. So I want to ask you about that process. How did you get that thought of going forward and starting something from the scratch? And how has been your experience so far? Has it distracted you in any way from your writing, or has it contributed to you as a writer?
No, as I said, the whole idea of doing this anthology is to provide a stepping stone to so many authors. And when I talk about Blacking, my publishing house, it's a bigger stepping stone for authors who are willing to write beyond a short story, but a full-fledged novel. And I'm so happy that I have published books in two digits now. I have launched authors, mentored them, I have worked with them. Some of the books have been bestsellers. Some of them have been optioned the rights to make motion pictures of these books. And I'm so happy that I'm able to do that. I remember that movies very well. Spider-Man, the last scene, with great powers come great responsibility. I just want to give back to some people, at least, if not all. And yes, I don't feel distracted. I think I'm discovering newer talent and I learn from these new talents as well.
So you see, a lot of people actually reader shame. I have personally seen a lot of readers make fun of boys or men who read romances. And this is too bad because as a reader, we should never be judged for the choices, for our reading choices. Why is the stigma and what do you have to say about it?
I think to some extent, people do judge. I'm not sure if stigma is the right word, but people do judge that are you so soft that you are reading romance. I personally love watching Romedy Now as a channel. These are like romance and comedy movies out there, or reading romance for that matter. And we are seeing a transition in the society from making it acceptable that boys can cry to boys reading romance. And I'll tell you what, there is a transition that I have seen in readers as well. 8 years down the line, when I told a love story and Can Love happened twice were there, and I used to do book events, 95 out of 100 people sitting in front of me would be women. Something that I like personally. But those 5 out of 100 male ratio has now gone up to 30%. So when I do book events now, I see at least there are 30% men who are reading my work and 70% still remain women. It's a good transition. It's a good thing happening, and I can verify this is a fact that I'm giving because I have worked on this a lot. So is the fan following or people who follow my Instagram handle or Facebook, because on it I get insights of what's the gender, what's the age group, and I do see that 30 to 35% of my readers are now men, which is a good thing.
My next question is a very generic one. So, we see the youth of today's India are a little restless, are a little fidgety. It's true that they want to grow, they want to love, and they're passionate about things that they like and they want to do in life. What will be that one message to today's youth that you would want to give?
Ah, it's tricky to give message to the youth of today's India. But if I have to give one message, that would be have the guts to say what you want to say and not let the fear of society keep you hold back. You have no idea how many of these people are carrying the same thought, just that they do not have the guts to speak it out. And maybe you are the one. You can become their voice. So go out and speak.
Linda, would you ever consider writing a non-fiction, say an autobiography or a memoir, or something like a guide on the lines, a best-selling author's guide to selling books in India?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I've always learned this that never say never. Uh, but I may write non-fiction on some other things, but I find it a little challenging to write something on how to become a bestseller author or a guide. Otherwise, I have written memoirs and autobiographies, but not in the genre of autobiography or memoir. They are all in the genre of fiction. For example, Like It Happened Yesterday is my memoir of growing up days in a small town of Odisha named Burla. It's about my life that started from nursery and ended at class 12th board exam. Apart from them, I too had a love story, has been autobiographical in nature. The Belated Bachelor Party, my book, has been partly autobiographical. Can Love Happen Twice is partly autobiographical in nature. But again, these are all under the category of fiction, of course. The genre remains fiction. I don't think I will ever write about how to become a bestseller author. There are more subjects. I will write nonfiction, that much I am aware of. More on romance and relationship. The way I look at it today, the complexities of it, because I do believe that I have my fair share of learnings and what I have observed from people around me, and I can package all of it in a nonfiction.
Ravinder, take us through your writing schedule. Are you a mood writer or are you a disciplined writer in the sense that you take out time for writing every week or every day or every month? Do you write daily or do you have writing spurts and you go to retreats and then you write, or you write throughout the year without any distractions? Take us through your schedule as a writer.
I am an indisciplined writer. I, I wish I had been a disciplined one. Interestingly, I gave up my job at Microsoft to become a disciplined writer so that I'll have more time to write. I realized that I have more excuses to be an indisciplined author now. I am a mood writer, yes. I push myself at times when the deadlines are coming, when I'm looming right top of my head, and even then I'm kind of able to break them and tell my editor that I'm so sorry, but I'll be giving the manuscript next month. That also sometimes doesn't work. So yeah, I'm a mood writer, and I envy all those writers who churn out more than two manuscripts a year. I think they make me look bad. So, yeah.
Coming back to the book in question, You Are All I Need, I have this very curious question. BookGeeks is a channel about books, and all my viewers are basically book lovers, book readers, and people who are passionate about reading and books. Some of these are people who are also passionate writers or aspiring writers. So I want to ask you this. Say somebody wants to be a part of future anthology. How do they know about it? How do they contact you? How do they approach you?
All right. Well, first of all, this is the third anthology that I am bringing out. Before this, I have brought two collection of stories. The first was Love Stories That Touch My Heart. I think that came out 6 years back, and the second was Tell Me a Story that came out 3.5 years back. This is the third one. You Are All I Need. So if I have done three anthologies, there are high chances that I'm going to do the fourth anthology. So wait for another year or so before we will announce it. It is very important that you guys get a hands on these books so that you get to know the stories, the level at which they are, which touched my heart and which got the approval of my publisher. So let them be your benchmark. Let them be your guiding angel, that if you can reach to this level, you will make it. So it's very important that you first read these short stories, think of your idea, whatever you have in mind. And I'm so damn sure that apart from knowing the level of these stories are going to influence you, they are going to motivate you, they are going to give you a new window of thought, and also learn from their styles, not just the story, but how an author has chosen to tell that story. It is very important. And yeah, stay tuned to my Instagram handle, where I will be announcing when I'm doing the next story, next collection of story anthology. I also brought out certain novellas in the recent time frame. You can get to know about all of it if you are on my Instagram. Anytime, anything, something happens, I will announce it there first.
I suppose you are a reader yourself, and I want to ask you, what are you reading currently, and what have you been reading during the lockdown days, and some of your favorite books that you have read recently and would want to recommend to my viewers.
Off late, I read the last book that I finished reading was Postscript by Cecilia Ahern. I loved it. I highly recommend that you guys read that. It's a sequel to P.S. I Love You, which happens to be one of my favorites. Before that, I finished reading Sylvia Day's Bear to You. And next to me, next to my bed on the reading table, is A Second Chance by my friend Sudeep. So I have to read that.
The next question that I want to ask you is about passion. You definitely left your career as a software engineer for your passion because you wanted to be a writer. Now, I'm sure that your career must have been full of wonderful, beautiful moments. But what is that one single moment, the best experience of your life as a writer, when you were like, aha, this is why I do what I do?
I was at Microsoft when I realized that it's more fun writing love stories than program codes. People do know me for the stories that I write, not for the programs that I write. I don't even know if anybody consuming technology would get to know, okay, this part of the technology is written by Ravinder or he was a program manager. But everything that I write in the book, that sentence, that quote which gets viral, that title with which people remember me, they know that this is the guy who wrote it. Um, the fame element, the applause, those claps, people telling me that my words moved them and they were in tears. How could you bring something of that sort while you're working on technology or writing program codes? Program codes never move you to tears or never made you laugh. I think this part of my job is what I enjoy the most and my aha moment.
Hey Ravinder, thank you so much for being so patient and answering all my questions. This is the last one, and it's a kind of rapid fire with a twist. In the sense that I'm gonna give you three or four options, and you have to pick each of these in your order of preference.
Jane Austen, Arthur Conan Doyle, and Ernest Hemingway. I'm so sorry, I I think I've read only Hemingway, so I am not the right person to even rank them in any preference. Coffee, chai, juice. Yes, this works. Chai, juice, coffee. Paperbacks, audiobooks, ebooks, hardbound books. Paperback, hardbound books, audiobooks, ebooks, बराबर चलेगा कोई भी. Libraries and book cafes. Book cafes. A trek in the wild and reading on a beach. Why not both? Durjoy Datta, Chetan Bhagat, and Savi Sharma. Durjoy Datta, Chetan Bhagat, and Savi Sharma, the same author. I have not personally met Savi Show. I don't know much about her. And Durjoy is a great friend. Twilight, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings. Twilight. I'm not a Harry Potter fan. Please don't kill me. I have not read it, neither watched it. Twilight, Lord of Rings, Harry Potter, and I'm so sure that Harry Potter is a great book, the entire series and those movies.
All right, Ravinder, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for being on this platform and coming out and talking to us. It was a pleasure having you on this channel. I wish you all the very best for your upcoming anthology. You are all I need. And book nerds, book geeks, readers, book lovers, everybody out there. The anthology comes out on 28th of September. It's currently available for pre-order on online platforms, including Amazon. I will put the link down below and you can go and check that book out. Order your copy right away. I think it's gonna be very, very exciting, and even I am soon planning to read it. So do check that book out, guys. Do check out the description box. All the links are down below. And also check out Ravinder's social media handles. I will put them down below. Ravinder, now I'm giving the platform to you for closing comments.
Thank you so much. I hope people are going to watch this. That's all I can hope. And do read You Are All I Need, as I can't say it enough that to the brilliant, brilliant stories.
And guys, if you enjoyed this video, you had a fantastic time, leave a like down below and also comment down below how many of Ravinder's books have you read and which ones have you read. Also guys, if you want me to interview Indian authors, leave down a list of names that you want me to approach. I will definitely try my best to approach these authors and get them to have an interview on my channel.